So I've been in my tiny apartment for about 6 years now, and I wanted to get a slightly better apartment in the downtown. But God forbid I get to do that. And it turns out, housing is way more cooked than you can imagine. So let's take a look and find out what's going on.
I just watched my 87th TikTok about how a couple who was married and both have college degrees can't buy a house. Can we all just level for a second? There are people who come out of college that are educated. There are people who come out of college who are papered. And you know what I mean. I am done pretending that if you have a college degree, you are educated. Because I cannot, for the life of me, I cannot understand how someone who is going, I make $50,000 a year, and they cannot, for some reason, connect the fact that, babe, when you were 17, you signed a loan, an unforgivable loan, okay? An unforgivable, bankruptcy exempt loan from a college.
Well, it also depends on what type of degree you get, because some degrees are not gonna ever pay the bills, kind of like liberal arts. You're not gonna pay bills with that. Also, I would appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe. It helps out quite a lot.
But the thing that was never as bad is the cost of college, which doubles every 9 years. Every 9 years. The value doesn't go up. And you all can't seem to connect the fact that, oh man, I can't make this large six-figure purchase because I already made a large six-figure purchase. That's why you can't buy a house. It's because you bought a paper from a college. They got you. They fleeced you.
Yeah, it should be illegal to make 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds sign these types of loans. They have no idea what they're doing. And it's not just colleges, it's also private schools. Like, I'm a student pilot, and even though aviation gas keeps going down, the cost of per hour keeps going up. If you want to find out, look up how much the hourly cost is for flight training. Yeah.
That I inspire someone on this Tuesday morning. My biggest flex in life right now is that, baby, I work a corporate job, but I live in a $900 apartment in the city.
I live in a $600 apartment, and that $600 apartment a couple of years ago was $420. And that's why I stayed in it so long. I only, wanted to stay here for like a year or two, but everywhere else is expensive. But I was looking at apartments in my downtown, and, basically a one bedroom that is quite a bit bigger than this one is only like $140 more per month, which is a pretty damn good deal considering I want to do YouTube for quite a while. So I'll just use that extra space to, film videos. But no, I do not think housing is going to be affordable in the future at all. I don't think that's going to happen. It's done for. It's toast.
I spend over $1,500 on rent every single month, and people ask me why. That's literally insane. I could be saving so much money. Well, this is why. Because
in LA,
any day I want, anytime I want, I can pull up to the beach, get an acai bowl, catch some sun or farm a little bit. That's priceless. That's priceless.
Yeah, it depends on how much money you're making or if you're loaded or not. But I mean, that's just rent. What about the other bills? And I mean, that's LA, so he probably has like a tiny shoebox that he's sitting in.
I moved into my apartment in June 2023. I was paying $1,790 in rent. I just got notified that March 1st, my rent will be increasing to $2,023. Before everyone gets in the comments and says, you're doing this, you're making your choices. Okay, first of all, fuck you. I have a 2-bedroom apartment because I have a 1.5-year-old son, and I got this apartment because I researched every apartment within a 30-mile radius of where my dad lives, because my dad lives with my nephew. I'm the legal guardian of my nephew, and I need to be able to have quick, close access to my nephew. I take him to appointments, I pick him up from school, etc. Well, shit is that this is the market rate. So this is pretty standard if you want a 2-bedroom apartment. And mine's nice because it's new, but it's not fancy. It was made really, like everything's plastic and falling apart. And it.
How about a 1-bedroom? And how about you don't live in a big city in the first place?
It's not a quality apartment. It's safe. I love living here, and that's why I'm living here. But I was talking to my landlord, and I was like, listen, I know this isn't your fault. I know you're not setting the prices of these, but what the f***? This is not like a sustainable, like, how the f*** is anyone supposed to, like, maintain their tenancy? I said, should I expect another huge rent increase? And he's like, yeah, in September, there's going to be another like $80 to $120 rent increase. And I'm like, so let me get this straight. I had to pay $5,500 to just get into this apartment. I could live in a 1-bedroom. I don't want to because I just
Yeah, you don't want to. That's why you're paying that much, because you don't want to, because, well, it's you're too good for it, I guess.
Figured out crib training with my son. I pay electric and I pay gas, which is another, 100 to 120 a month, like on top of that. I hate that the issue is that I'm at a point in my life where paying another $120 a month in rent is like pissing me off. I know that the solution is to just make more money.
No, the solution is to live below your means, not just get into a fancy 2-bedroom apartment because you feel like it.
So that this is gonna happen and I'm gonna have more wiggle room in my budget and blah blah blah. But what pisses me off is if you're not making $6,000 or $8,000 as a single mom a month, you're just like, how are you gonna make it? Who wants to be roommates with people that they don't know? And how many people do you know that you could trust to live with and that it wouldn't ruin your friendship if you lived with them? And what if I just want to live in my own spot? What if I really like the peace of mind that I have in my own goddamn apartment? Why isn't there some sort of clause that says, oh, you're a single mom with narcolepsy and you have a disability and you're making X amount of money and we're gonna give you like a little bit of a break? And I understand like life is a jungle and no one's trying to give out handouts. You're hearing about how Elon Musk just uncovered all the government all the money that's
No, that was a while ago. Now we have the Somali edition in Minnesota.
going everywhere. Like the government isn't, in general, they're not looking to help people. We know that. Just keep coming back to like, okay, the solution is just to make more money, but there's only so many hours in the day. I spent 45 minutes today researching other apartments in the area.
Yeah, how about you research smaller ones? And how about you don't go for the fancy ones?
I maybe have a tour scheduled next week, but here's the thing, it's like, yeah, if I get into this other apartment, like what is that gonna look like and how much do I have to put down? It's usually first and last month's rent, and then there's a damage deposit, and then there's usually a refundable pet deposit on top of that of a couple $100 or and then like at least, and then a monthly pet deposit. And I have 2 cats and I don't want to get rid of my cat. I'm not making this video to be like, oh, poor me, like blah blah, but where my brain goes is I zoom out and I think about the bigger picture, and I think about like the regular people who are just trying to survive. And like,
so you have kids, you have pets, you want a fancy apartment, you don't want a 1-bedroom, but you want a 2-bedroom, and you're complaining that the prices are too high. Do you see where the problem is at?
Like the average income and like what it cost to just literally survive. That's not like getting ahead. That's not
literally survive in a fancy 2-bedroom with cats and kids.
Saving money. That's not potentially owning a piece of property. That's literally just like, I'm making it until the next month. What is there, like 800,000 homeless people in the US?
You're making it? You are living good. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment that is not even 400 square feet in a tiny town, and I drive an $8,000 car. Which, I mean, that $8,000 car, I bought it just to resell it and, make a little bit more money. But typically the car that I drive is about $3,000. That's called surviving. That's called making good decisions. I could go get a fancy car, I could go get a fancy house, but what's the point? I'm just gonna be spending more money and just complaining that everything is, too high priced for my expensive taste.
So when you think about like a homeless person, your mind might go to like all these extremes, but it's like, no, people become homeless because
they make bad decisions.
There's factors that are outside of their control, and they're doing their best, and they get up every day and they have good intentions and they work, and they're not like selling themselves on OnlyFans, and they're trying to like do good in the world. But bills are massive, man. It's expensive as
No, it's not bills. I'll tell you what it is. Most homeless people now are out there because of drugs. They have been offered help multiple times and they have refused it. That's why most people that are homeless, is because they can't control their drug addiction and they don't want help, because that means they have to get off the drugs and quit doing dumb shit. And yes, there are people who are unfortunately homeless because of things that are not in their control. That's a whole nother thing, but I'm talking about the majority.
The millennials and Gen Zers who are complaining that they can't buy a house are not working for minimum wage. These are people making $60, $70, $80, $90,000 a year who can no longer afford a house. But minimum wage workers are also complaining because they can't afford rent. If you look back to 1980, the rent was $243. Minimum wage was $3.10, meaning your monthly gross was $496. So to rent this apartment, it would be 48.9% of your gross income back in 1980. But let's fast forward to 2024. The average rent is $17.47. The federal minimum wage is $7.25, giving you $11.60. you can't even get an apartment with the federal minimum wage. But let's be generous and double the federal minimum wage, because people at Walmart and fast food joints are making $14.50 to $15. So $14.50 would bring you to $23.20. So technically you're making more, but this is your gross, and it'd be 75% of your gross income, making double the federal minimum wage in 2024. But let's take it even a step further. ZipRecruiter said that the starting pay for college graduates is $24 an hour. So that would be $38.40 a month. So someone with a bachelor's degree could afford this one-bedroom apartment, but it would be 45.4% of their gross income. A college graduate is spending the same amount of their income on rent as the minimum wage worker in 1980 did. Roughly the same. And the minimum wage...
Okay, a college graduate should not be spending over $1,700 on rent. You could get a small apartment, you could get a dorm, or you can get a room somewhere for not even like a third of that. So it's down to your decision. If the city that you live in is too expensive, move out of it.
Worker in 1980 put on a hat, learned skills for 2 weeks, and started their job. A bachelor's degree spent 4, 5, 6 years of their life in school and $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, and now have to spend the same amount of money on rent as a minimum wage worker did in 1980.
If you can't afford anything, why are you going to college in the first place? Why are you not going to a trade school? Why are you not getting your CDL, which I highly don't recommend doing now. But if you have nothing else, then go for it. Someone in the comments said, don't forget, to be able to rent an apartment, you have to make at least 3 times the amount of rent. And yeah, that would equal to, over $5,200 a month just to rent. And as a college graduate, you ain't gonna make that.
Welcome back to another video of me showing you
houses I can't afford, I'm poor.
looking for something under 160K. Right here, baby. 159.
For that, I'll give you about 30 max.
$1,999 in San Antonio, Texas, baby. Affordable living for everyone. Nothing
Affordable?
is affordable for me. We talking about 1 bedroom, 2 bathrooms, with 664 square feet, baby. Starting off with the driveway. This is the driveway. This can fit about 1 Toyota Camry. I'm hungry. Let's go. Wow, look at the floor. This can be the living room or the dining room. The choice is yours. The big back room. I love the mix of black and white in the kitchen. Smells like equality. Microwave for humans, microwave for the big backs. Perfect place for pets. You can also make like a mini pantry right here. Let's go. Take your shoes off.
Yeah, no, this is not 160,000. No.
Watch the Cowboys lose right here, baby. Put your clothes right here. What do you think this is? El tiempo de caca. Demystify yourself right here, baby. Ladies, washer dryer combo, baby. Let's go up the stairs. Bathroom number 2. El tiempo de booby. With your shower right here, baby. Let's continue. This is the loft. With the extendo clip, you got a lot of space up here for real.
What do you mean a lot of space?
So if you want more space, you could even make this the bedroom. Isn't that nice? Let's go outside. Let's go. This is the backyard. Nice and spacious. Perfect place to look at the sky. All right.
Do you know why it's spacious? Because he's using a wide lens on his camera to make it look big.
Y'all, please give me feedback in the comments. And if you want to buy or sell with me, link is in the bio. Peace out, baby.
Somebody in the comments said, that price for a shed is ridiculous. Yeah, looks like a glorified shed, to be honest with you.
It is literally impossible to buy a house right now. I currently work 3 jobs. My girlfriend works 2 jobs. We have a bunch of money saved up, and I still cannot buy a house. Otherwise, we'll be completely house poor. I'm so sick of this. I'm so tired of it. We've been working so hard for so long. Both of our credit scores are 700 plus, 720 plus, and we're working our butts off. All we want to do is start our life, live our life, and we can't do it. I'm so tired of it.
I'm assuming you live in a goofy town?
And now we find out that the money that we've been paying for taxes all this time is going to stuff that it shouldn't have gone to.
Yeah, almost $8 billion in Somali fraud for welfare. Yeah.
I don't know how much more I can take, man. I don't know how much more I can take. Like, when is the American dream going to be feasible again? When is it going to be okay to work hard to get good things in life?
That's a pretty good question, because I mean, since 2020, things have changed quite a bit, and companies have found out that, hey, people are willing to spend money. And then when we raise the prices, people are gonna spend even more money. So we're just gonna keep raising it and raising it and raising it. Oh well, and when people stop spending money, we're gonna lower it just a little bit.
With both of us combined, 5 jobs, and we can't afford a house. I'm so done, man.
Yeah, move out the city. Or just don't buy a house.
Just moved into my first solo apartment a few days ago, and I want to break down exactly how much it costs because I had a few questions wondering what my rent is, how much to save up before you move out, things like that. So I'm going to break it down for you and give you a grand total at the end. So the first thing that I paid for was the $50 application fee. I feel like that's pretty standard for most apartments. The next thing was the $150 reservation fee. At my apartment complex, they charge a reservation fee when you get accepted for the apartment, basically just to hold the apartment for me. And then the next thing was the security deposit. I did pay the full month's rent security deposit.
Okay, that is massive for a first apartment, and that is extremely fancy for a first apartment. This apartment that I'm in right now, it is my first apartment. And it is tiny.
At my apartment, it ranges from $300 to a full month's rent, so I did pay $1,650. I don't have a lot of renter's history, so they gave me the max amount that I could pay for the security deposit. And then I had to pay the prorated rent for the month of December, which was $1,065.52 because I moved in on the 13th. And then there's a $31 valet trash charge that I will be charged every month, and that was $31. I did go ahead and pay that for December. And the last thing was the U-Haul. I did get a U-Haul for 4 hours on the day of move out, and it was $61.86. So that brings us to a grand total of $3,008.83. Don't let this number scare you. That's just what I had to pay, and a lot of people don't have to pay the full security deposit. So, and every apartment complex is different. There may not be a $150 reservation fee, but honestly, my best advice when moving out is to save up as much money as possible. Obviously, that's what everyone would say, but it's so true. You just never know what kind of charges you're gonna get or different fees and stuff like that, but that's how much it cost me to move out.
I mean, if you can afford it, then, I mean, kudos to you, but most people should not be getting something that fancy or that big for a first apartment, if that's not already common sense.
Buying a home feels impossible in 2024 or ever because when you look at the prices of homes, you'll be like, why does this place cost $1.2 million? It's just a 3-bedroom, not updated house. It's on less than an acre. It's like, it's a whatever house. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, this house is probably like worth, I don't know, $300,000, $400,000. It's in a good neighborhood. It's got good schools, but like certainly not worth $1.2 million.
Well, somebody is going to pay that, unfortunately. So that's why they raised it up that high.
And then as a millennial, you kind of gaslight yourself and you say, well, is that because I think about home prices in terms of what they were around the 2008 era when everything was basically cheap because of the housing crisis? Or do I think that way because I've been around? Whiskers, hey. But then no, you just scroll further down on Zillow, and when you click on the purchase history of the home, you see that the home sold for $347,000 in 2018, 2015, and now in 2024, they're asking $1.2 million. And you realize that people really are just getting away with it. They're selling a house that's worth $300,000, $400,000 for in the millions. And you realize
we honestly need another crash. Like, we really need another crash. We need that shit to just come crumbling down.
It's not about how hard you work or how much you save, because you'll never buy a $1.2 million home that in your heart feels like it's a $300,000 home, because it is a $300,000 home. But you're not supposed to talk about how you feel, because then people who bought their home for 5 raspberries in 1970 and then sold it for $1.1 million will remind you that you're just whiny and ungrateful, and that if you just worked harder, you would be able to buy a home. And you're definitely not allowed to tell them that your generation is the most educated in history, that we work more hours than anyone else has. And
yeah, it's not about working more hours, it's just about how you work those hours. And not to mention, a lot of the housing shortages that we have here are caused by illegal immigrants. And yes, that is true, because where do you think those illegal immigrants are staying?
that we are also paying for the children that you think we're not raising. While surviving crisis after crisis, and then buying a home is just not the next thing that we do. Because even if I had the down payment and the mortgage to buy a 3-bedroom home that is $1.2 million, I wouldn't be able to bring myself to do it. Because if I'm going to pay $1 million for a house, I want it to feel like $1 million house. Starter homes historically were little 2-3 bedroom houses that needed some work. They were perfectly fine, but you could live there for a few years, save more for a better home as your family grew, and then move on. And starter homes like that are now in the 800s and 900s.
No, starter homes used to be in the, maybe 40s to 60s range, and that's what they need to go back to being. Because back then, when somebody told you $1 million house, you'd think, oh, mansions, fancy cars, etc. Now $1 million can't even get you a 3-bedroom house.
And it's just not what it used to be. And I know that people say that in like a weird way, but it feels impossible.
Yeah, it has become impossible. And if you do hear some creaking in my background, well, sorry about that, because the neighbors on top of me, they start chimping out every time I record a video.
How is America continuing to build all these ridiculous ass apartment complexes, but charging almost $3,000 for one bedroom? And who in the hell are affording to move into these ridiculously high, overpriced, expensive apartments? The national average salary is like $55,000, something like that. I'm not the best at math, but 56,000 divided by 12 is like $4,600 a month. That's like 75% of your check gone if you're paying $3,000 a month for an apartment.
Yeah, and people will pay that just because they don't want a smaller apartment, just because they think they're too good to live in a small apartment. Oh, I gotta get a 2-bedroom, I gotta get a oceanfront bullshit, and well, I gotta make it fancy because I'm too good for that. Never mind being broke and spending majority of your money on that. It's unbelievable.
Not to mention you got food, you got electricity bill, got car payment, car insurance, gas. You like to go shopping, get new clothes. God forbid you need a haircut every 2 weeks or you got to get your hair done. And God forbid you have kids' mouths to feed. That's even double.
And pets.
Average income earner cannot afford these overpriced ass apartments. So who the are they building these apartment complexes for?
Well, it's so they can milk people out of whatever they can, and when they can't afford it anymore, they'll get more people that can pay that.
And what makes it even more hilarious, every single year these greedy ass landlords continue to increase the rent. So pretty soon, if you haven't already, we're going to be seeing $4,000, $5,000 a month apartment complex prices. And my question is, why do they keep getting away with this?
Because people keep paying that.
How as a people have not gone up there with pitchforks, knives, and any type of weapon that we can find to put an end to this madness? We are literally allowing them to run our pockets dry. What happened to America? We used to protest way back then. The minute taxes went over 2%. Now we are getting taxed damn near half, if not more than half our money. Rent is out of control. Housing prices are out of control. Mortgage is out of control. Every single bill known to man is completely out of control. And all
also,
we
you got
do
grocery
is we go
prices.
on TikTok, we complain, and then the next day we get up, we go to work, and we pay that overpriced ass rent. Why, as we as a people have not done anything about this? Because we have not revolted. Us not revolting means that these landlords will continue to increase the rent every single year. Us not revolting means that these developers will continue to buy up a whole bunch of land, knock down these trees, and build overpriced ass apartment complex on top of apartment complex on top of apartment complex. Us not revolting will lead to housing prices continuing to skyrocket, mortgage rates continue to skyrocket, and everything else known to man to live continue.
And not to mention, there's also like a handful of companies that have been buying homes in small towns and then just renting them out and jacking up the rent. And it's only a handful of companies that have been doing that.
To skyrocket. As much as this problem is corporate greed, another half of this problem is us not revolting and taking a stand against these corrupt, greedy. We, as a people, have allowed them to get away with so much. They have become borderline unstoppable. And it's sad to say, but I think there's no coming back from this.
No, there's really no coming back to this because nobody's doing anything about it. Well, they think, oh, what's going to happen when I protest? Nobody else is protesting, so it's just going to keep happening. This is going to be the new normal nowadays. Everything's going to start to decline and decline because rolls downhills, folks.
So I came across this. It says, this is the max rent you should be paying based upon your salary. Now, just so you guys know for reference, the average American makes about $49,000, which means your rent should be about $1,041. But here's the thing. The average of a one-bedroom apartment in the United States right now is $1,700. That's damn near a 70% increase, okay? Now, one thing I am
$1,700 for one bedroom? Where are you living, LA? Move to a small town if you cannot afford the town that you are in.
happy about is that the feds are suing certain rent companies for hiking up prices and gouging renters. That's a good thing. But ultimately, the rent is just too damn high. I know in California, we have a ballot measure that talks about rent control. And people are saying, you don't want to have rent control because builders will be too shy to build. Man, forget that.
Yeah, we do need rent control.
Because the rent is
and
too damn
it should
high.
be by
What
square
I can clearly
foot.
see is that a lot of major companies are taking advantage of people, hiking up the rent, and trying to squeeze people. And that's just not cool.
So yeah, that is the reality of renting and buying homes nowadays. Is it going to be possible in the future? Highly doubt that, because, you know, like I said, crap rolls downhill. So it's only going to get crappier and crappier. If you've made it to the end, thank you, and see you in the next one.